At the core of frame making is essentially the 3 E's. The first is establish the frame, and that establishing the frame that the seller will use to help the customer overcome whatever the complexity is. Anyone who's listening to this who's got some experience with the strategy consulting world will be familiar with the BCG growth share matrix. There's so many 2x2s in that world. But that type of framework often is necessary to support that customer with that framing. The more complex or the more involved that framework is, the more the individual seller probably can't and maybe shouldn't be left to try and build it on their own. And so in those cases, absolutely, you need sales enablement, you need marketing, all those support entities help design that insight that's going to be the basis for the framing. However, at the other end of that continuum is the simple nudge. If the sellers realize that what's really going to help this customer is to involve procurement earlier in the process, because they'll understand better what that buying journey needs to look like within their own company, it can be what we refer to as framing without a framework, which often is just a suggestion. And those things sellers can very much do on their own. And so this continuum of the complexity of the framing very much dictates who else needs to be involved in the process. But for the most part, yes, absolutely, it's critical that marketing to have the real understanding of the scale of the customer needs and how to design something that actually supports that particular challenge. For completeness sake, the other two are then once you have that frame established, the second E is the engage, where that seller or whoever has the contact with the customer and engages them with the framing. And then ultimately the third E is the execution of that framing across the buying group beyond the main over time until the journey is complete.